Om Shanti. Pita Shree PrajaPita Brahma Baba's Life History, Part 29. Title: Assassinate Brahma. Om Radhi, in charge of the institution, developed her divine qualities and brought them out in others as well. She was a perfect mirror, reflecting each soul's final stage. If ever anyone performed some wrong action, Mama would seem not to notice. One mistake doesn't justify another, she said simply. Getting upset is a mistake, so how can I do it? Some souls occasionally got caught up in worrying about their own defects. This is body consciousness, said Mama. Don't worry, just observe the faults and then remove them. Replace defects with virtues. Never compare yourself with others, she reiterated. Except with Brahma Baba. This brings about fast progress without either depression or arrogance. Mama's main quality was introspectiveness. She took seriously the words of Shiv Baba, "Turn within and I will burn your sins." Mama received many loving names during the course of her term at the university. Shiv Baba himself pronounced her the original Saraswati, that is, God of knowledge, and Jagadamba, Mother of the world. Others called her Mateshwari, Mother Goddess, or Yagya Mata. But the name which stuck is the one of simple love and trust, Mama. The personalities of Brahma Baba and Mama were too pure and powerful to be opposed directly. But the forces of the anti-party still simmered with anger, and they concocted one last terrible scheme by which to end the work of the Yagya once and for all, to assassinate Brahma Baba. A committee of anti-party members went out to one of the mountainous regions of India to locate the most experienced assassin they could find. One name they heard most often among the underworld contacts was that of a legendary warrior, a Sikh bandit of a remote tribe who was wanted for murder in several states. They found him after much difficulty. The man was very dark, tall and lean, with hard muscles from a lifetime of trekking barefoot in all weathers through the Himalayan slopes, fighting with knife and sword and hand-made spear. He wore only a lion cloth and a turban and a long gleaming blade that hung at his side. The anti-party members made him an offer which the bandit accepted. He accompanied them back to Karachi. There, they showed him a picture of Brahma Baba, drew him a plan of the house where Brahma Baba lived, and carefully circled in red ink the room where Brahma Baba was known to stay. The bandit was to break in, run up to Brahma Baba's room, do his dirty work, and then bring back evidence of his success to a pre-arranged rendezvous point where he would be paid. A car would then escort him back to the foothills of his own region. The university had long ago made preparations to prevent unwanted intruders from entering its grounds. There was a brother who nightly walked the perimeters of the yard, keeping an attentive eye out for suspicious people. Her sister was also posted at each door, and a guard remained on the second landing as well. In addition, Brahma Baba was hardly ever alone. He usually dictated letters well into the night so that at least one sister was present helping him at his desk. But one night, a chain of inexplicable occurrences brought about a lapse in the Yagya's security. One of the school's cars came in with a flat tire. and the brother on guard went to the shed to help get it repaired. The sister at the door was called away for some reason to the kitchen, and the girl on the second landing had gone down to fetch dinner for Brahma Baba, who that evening was working alone in his room. It was on that night, with the starlight veiled by impenetrable clouds, that the bandit chose to strike. He arrived at the very moment the premises was unguarded. He crossed the lawn, pried open a front window, and slipped silently inside. The bandit quickly orientated himself. Finding the stairway, he lunged up to the second landing. There, he wheeled right, facing the door of Brahma Baba's room. Sword at the ready, he turned the knob and fiercely strode inside. Brahma Baba looked up from his papers. He had been preparing points on the power of purity to be included in the new book on the knowledge. He was collecting points collected from the morning's discourses by Shiv Baba. When he saw his unannounced visitor, Brahma Baba realized everything immediately, yet he did not react. He was without fear. Brahma Baba had not the slightest concern for his own welfare. If Shiv Baba wishes to continue using this poor old body for his medium, he reasoned to himself, then he will see to it that the vehicle survives. It is his responsibility, not mine. And with that thought, Brahma Baba looked fearlessly at the sick bandit. He smiled. But the bandit did not smile back. In fact, he did not even see Brahma Baba sitting in front of him, though they were less than 5 feet apart. For as soon as he entered the room, the bandit had been engulfed in a golden mist. Blinded by the unearthly light, the bandit stumbled. His will to destroy began to weaken. He lost the senses of his body entirely. He felt as if he had died and ascended. He lost the sense of his body entirely. He felt as if he had died and ascended to nirvana. All memory of his original purpose was washed away. The sword dropped from his hand. The dazed Sikh groped his way out of the room and into the hall. At last the sister returned with Brahma Baba's dinner and spotted the intruder. She sounded the alarm. The bandit was quickly brought downstairs, but Brahma Baba gave instruction for him to be treated well. The bewildered warrior was informed that he had arrived at God's own abode and that he could be remorseful for his past sins by living a life of purity. The Sikh was very happy to hear this. He smiled broadly like a child. They gave him food and sent him away with instruction to remember God and to be non-violent. The Sikh swore that he would and strode off. The next day, when the anti-party learned what had happened, they simply stayed in disbelief. They made no further attempts of that kind. Next title, World Service Begins. The Supreme Being, God, the Father, Shiva, continued to descend each day from the dimension of light into the corporeal world. He entered the body of Brahma and spoke through his mouth, revealing ever deeper truths to the souls lucky enough to recognize him. He urged them to consider themselves to be souls. He explained how to regain the exalted stage of being an angel. But God had not taken the trouble to come to earth simply to uplift a few people in remote India. He came for all the world, and so, when the first children became strong enough, he began to send them out to give the word to others. Eventually, the news of God's coming must reach the entire population of the world, for all souls are God's children and deserve a chance to take their inheritance. Of course, many would refuse what God offered, because the all-powerful Lord chose to use the body of an ordinary person rather than a president or a king or even a saint or guru. Those with weak intellects assumed that Brahma Baba was really the founder of the yajna. They believed him to be the guru of the Brahma Kumaris. Because Shiv Baba could not be physically seen, they refused to believe in his existence, despite the fact that he spoke directly to people every day, revealing the truth using simple but profound words. In ignorance, they showered abuse on Brahma's head, yet the work of God went on, and now the children took on an ever greater share of the responsibility, for they were anxious to establish heaven and then to go and live there. The outreach service began in the earnest 5 or 6 years after the founding of the yajna. One day, Shiv Baba said through Brahma Baba to the mothers and sisters who were gathered around, "Now you have become mature and you are filled with God's power. You must return to your own physical parents and relatives and to all those who did harm to you, and you must fulfill your obligations to them. You know the proverb that charity begins at home." Baba gave further counsel to be aware of 6 things while away on service. Your mental state must be complete. You must be established in soul consciousness, so others may experience a divine revelation. Do not create the illusion that you are their daughter or sister. They must realize that a Shakti, an angel, stands before them. You should appear so awesome that they will not dare to hug you out of attachment. You can eat fruit or milk or pure food. Don't take anything else. Because you are a child of God's dynasty, you cannot accept any of their money. The food and money of others have a great effect on the mind. By giving them the knowledge, you have to change their understanding of life and inspire them to lead a pure and divine existence by making them realize the greatness of your own life. Be in an intense state of remembrance of God while giving His introduction, and they will be awed and eager to know more and to experience the same happiness and power. Then they will also come to the Satsang. Next title, The Homeward Pilgrimage. The sisters in their white saris returned to Hyderabad from Karachi, taking with them God's message. Each went to their own family home. 6 years is a long time to be separated. None had returned home except occasionally to explain some of Baba's teachings. When they returned now, they did so without informing their families beforehand. For the most part, their relatives had long ago assumed that these girls would never willingly come back. So, when they saw them, they were stunned. One sister, Manohar Indra, was seen approaching her old home by her younger sister, who ran inside and told the people in the house, "The one who lived here before," she shouted, "the one who was going to Om Manli, the one who went away is coming." The younger sister did not remember her name, for she had been but a small child when Manohar Indra had left. The family could not believe it. Suddenly the house was in an uproar. The mother, whose name was Lakshmi, came out of the kitchen. When she heard who was on her way, she ran outside to meet her daughter. The ties of love still ran so deep. They met on the steps of the porch. Her mother's eyes were wide with surprise. She wanted badly to hug her daughter to her chest, but resisted. I stood in silence, Manohar recalls. A minute must have passed. Tears came to my mother's eyes. I remained at peace. Do you know who's standing at your door? Manohar asked her mother Lakshmi. Do you recognize us? We are the powers of Shiva, the Shiva Shaktis. I have become the daughter of Brahma. I am no longer your daughter, but we are sisters, both children of the Supreme. God has given us this message to carry to His other children. In a few years' time, this Iron Age world will be destroyed and the heavenly order established in its place. Mankind suffers today because of evil actions and impure thoughts. Now is the time to earn rebirth in the land of happiness by making the inner effort of transformation. Will you go on the road to heaven? Lakshmi was amazed. By this time, the rest of the family also stood in the doorway listening. They were awestruck at the change which had taken place in his daughter. She had returned as a yogini, a soul of great spiritual power. The family felt the truth behind her words. Their sleeping souls were suddenly awakened. Yes, I will certainly go to the heavenly world, my mother said. You must take me with you. She led me slowly into the house. Manohar recalls. She went ahead and I followed her. She observed my manner of walking by looking behind her, and she was filled with surprise as if she felt that royalty was present. She looked around for a place for me to sit. First, she spread out a bedspread and said, "Sit here." And then she put a cushion on the chair and said, "Sit here." But each time she reconsidered, for these seats did not seem good enough to her. But I just sat on the ground and began to establish myself in soul consciousness. Within a few minutes, a crowd of relatives and people from the neighborhood had gathered around me. I spoke to them for 1 hour. Profound effects could be felt. Baba's deep truths resonated in the deepest parts of the being. At the end, they were eager to hear more. I stayed with them for a number of days. During that time, many neighbors, relatives and friends came to hear the knowledge. The atmosphere was like a satsang. They asked questions and the answers they received gradually fitted together and made sense to them. With the practice of yoga, the minds became more clear. The wrong ideas people had held about Om Mandali were dissolved. Many came back individually to go further into the knowledge and meditation. They had powerful experiences. I kept my intellect united with God while speaking to them, successfully opening the lock of their consciousness. I was also careful to eat only fruits and to accept no money from these people. One day, after considering deeply the change in her daughter and the quality of the knowledge, Lakshmi said, "I will also come with you into the yajna. I will see your ashram and hear the knowledge from Baba, and I also hope to experience wonderful things." Manohar felt both surprise and happiness. This was the same person who had once protested unrelentingly about her going to Baba's Satsang. Now she was eager to come and join the group to listen to the knowledge and be transformed. While on the road, Lakshmi expressed one wish. "I have done a great deal of devotion, but I have not attained self-realization. Will you help me to get a vision of God? I have heard that in your institution people quickly obtain such revelations. Until I have such an experience, I feel I cannot have faith or trust." I told her, "No soul can make you realize God except God Himself. He is the only bestower of divine wisdom. If it is in your destiny that such a thing should happen, then it will happen. If you have done such elevated worship in your previous birth, or if you have done noble actions, or if your nature is such, then you will likely to get a divine vision. They arrived at the university, and 2 days later, Lakshmi had a profound experience of realization. One of the teachers, a great yogi named Dhyani, was going over the first lesson of spirituality with her. You are an eternal, indestructible soul. You're not the body. Forget this physical body. It is because of coming into the consciousness of the body that these fluctuations of the mind overtake you. If you simply leave those mental habits of instability behind, you will be reborn into the golden age. On saying this, Dhyani asked, "What is the name of your body?" "My bodily name is Lakshmi." "Oh, once you were the true Lakshmi," Dhyani explained. "But later, you forgot your real form. Now is the time to become the true Lakshmi once more. Awake now. Know yourself and become true Lakshmi." Upon hearing these charged words, the woman experienced a flood of power. She attained the bodiless state of consciousness, and while stabilized in that blissful condition, she received a divine revelation, the fruit of her previous birth's devotion. Lakshmi saw a palace of gold on the surface of the sea. There was a resplendent court within, and seated on the royal thrones were Lakshmi and Narayan, both enchantingly beautiful. While narrating her experiences afterward, Manohar's mother said, "My mind was telling me I should enter the court, but I did not have the courage to do so because I felt that I was impure and unstable." Thanks to this vision, she gained faith in Baba's teachings. After a week on the campus of the university, Lakshmi expressed the desire to remain there all her life. "The atmosphere here is so exquisitely pure. I have immense peace of mind." But Brahma Baba did not give her permission to stay longer. Manohar went to Baba and asked him why. "You were harassed and driven out of the house," Baba replied. "Otherwise, why should you have left? You were young and dependent on them. These people did not allow you to live as you wished, and that is why you came here. But your mother is older. It is her own house, and she can do what she likes. So tell her after going home, she may give knowledge to others and make her own home like an ashram." Hearing this explanation, her mother returned with a firm decision to fill her home with a divine atmosphere. True stories such as this could be told of the families of each of Brahma Baba's many children. It was a time of revelation. Shiv Baba was giving visions to many, and so the number of students grew. Om Shanti.